All right, I'm not waiting for that timer. Let's get into this. Hey everybody. Let me see, I got chat. NPC, I see you over there on the YouTubes. I don't have on-screen chat here anymore. I disabled all that stuff when I went to Twitch. And it's good to see you. So we got the, pointing the wrong way, the Kickstarter. It launched. I streamed first on Twitch this time around, and then now I'm over here on the YouTubes and the Facebooks. So if anybody wanted to check it out, you can. Hello, everybody. Campaign launched, I don't know, coming on like an hour ago, maybe-ish. And the response has been fantastic. I can't believe how many people have chipped in already. This is my first time doing a gaming supplement. This thing, Intoximancy, is a Dungeons and Dragons 5e compatible supplement book. I don't know what to call it. A thing. You can see I'm new at this, and I've done a lot of comics Kickstarters before, but this is my first time doing one in the gaming area. I did the minis. I did these little tabletop minis, but this is like content, and this is, people can say this sculpt is good or bad, but when you have content, people can say that's wrong. They can say, yeah, those numbers don't add up, or that spell should be concentration, or it should attack wisdom and not intellect. They can really quibble, and quibbling is at least 20% of Dungeons and Dragons. So the campaign launched. The response has been very nice. I also shared onto John, how are you? Good to see you. I good. Hopefully see you this evening on I'm sorry we don't have on-screen chat. Can I turn on-screen chat on? I think I've just disabled all that stuff. I think I have. But it's going really well. The whole thing's going really well. Yeah, I'm Steve the Entrepreneur. I see you. NPC, I appreciate that. I don't know. It's what I really love about this. Maybe my favorite thing about this campaign is this part. The bonus reward for all backers. That everybody who backs it is going to get a copy of the book. So I'm hoping that people who play D&D and like this thing, I mean, the fingers crossed it becomes a project we love. That's sort of the brass ring in Kickstarters. Like if they say you're a project we love, suddenly you appear at the top section of you can be on the front page of their website. You know, it really is crazy what it can do. And that's why the initial push with everybody to hopefully support the project early on matters, because that's the sort of thing that gets their attention. But this is also part of their zine quest. So this thing was a stretch goal in the last Kickstarter campaign, and we never got that goal. We never got, even with looking at BackerKit, and the response on BackerKit was great. Even with that, we never quite unlocked this thing. And I was like, wait, maybe if we hit it in BackerKit, maybe I can give it away there. And like, okay, it didn't happen. And then it's like, oh, it's going to be a standalone project, because it turns out they're doing, you know, Kickstarter's doing Zine Quest. Let me scroll back up to the front. Oh, I did. Kickstarter's doing Zine Quest. And I thought, okay, I can make this a standalone project. And as soon as I made it a standalone project, I'm like, oh, I have to make this thing look great. I have to, if it was just a freebie that I was giving everybody, I could just slap that cute little mug guy on the cover. You know, here's some stats. Here's how you know, it could be 5 pages. It's a 5-page PDF. Who cares? It's like, it's a freebie, but it's enough to take to your dungeon master and play this character, this subclass in your game. But now it has to be a standalone thing. I'm like, oh great, it's going to be a standalone thing. That means it needs to have a cover. It needs to have illustrations. And then the bar for 5e illustrations is so high, I felt all this pressure to produce something not as good, because, you know, I've not done this stuff before, but not embarrass myself. And I'm really happy with how they turned out. I'm super happy. I think they look legit. I'm also happy with the 5e logo. That's mine. There's no official 5e logo, so I'm going to make that available to anybody who wants to use it on their campaigns. But it all turned out great. So again, the Venn diagram of people who know me as a cartoonist and read the Middle Age, and the number of people who play tabletop role-playing games, and specifically 5e, the 5th edition of Dungeons and Dragons, that's a small sliver. So I don't know how many people are going to come over, but the real hope is that the gaming folks stumble onto this thing, and then they come and find out what the Middle Age is. Get back in here. So Zine Quest is a event that Kickstarter has usually in February every year, and it is a so the original version of Dungeons and Dragons was created in like a basement by a bunch of guys, and they mimeographed or photocopied the first rules of Dungeons and Dragons. They were like, I think they were 8.5 by 11, folded in half, stapled, classic, what comics people would have called a ash can. It was basically these ash cans, minis, or also it could have been called minis in comics, and those were zines, homemade magazines, homemade print editions. And so Kickstarter started Zine Quest, which was their idea of like, you're going to do a gaming zine, you're going to do a small boutique gaming product that will probably be photocopied. It'll probably be put together at FedEx Kinko's or something like that. And they have it in February every year, and this year they happen to move it to August. So just as my last campaign was wrapping up and we didn't unlock this goal, I go on to Kickstarter, I see that Zine Quest is happening in February. I'm like, so the thing that I just didn't unlock, there's an opportunity to make it a standalone product in August. I'll do that. I'll just have to not sleep. And so this is their 4th one. They're going back to February. There's actually on the front page here, this section is there's an apology here saying that, we know the creators prefer to have these events in February. We're sorry we moved it. It'll be back in February next year. So it's just so happens to have lined up with the end of the last campaign, and while this thing was still fresh in my head. So I think they were trying to line it up with Gen Con, the big gaming convention. And so it'll be back again, and here it is. One of the reasons to be part of Zine Quest and any one of their Make 100 or any of Kickstarter's events is that they can shine a little extra light on your project. So anyone who's visiting the Zine Quest page right now will see Intoximancy on the page, because it is... I'm trying to select just Intoximancy, because it was the most recent one added. So it's a lot like the Canvas section of Webtoons in this regard. The most recent thing that is tagged in this genre is the first thing listed on the page. Otherwise, my project would be buried in the bowels of the gaming section. So it's a perk. It's a perk. I don't know the value of the perk. I think people who are checking out Zine Quest are expecting low-cost, home-brewed, simple stuff, and so I don't know what they're expecting. I think my project might look a little too fancy. I don't know if that hurts, but it's weird. Like I'm doing a hardcover version. Sadly, the goal of the campaign, this initially was going to be like a $1 PDF with like the campaign was going to have a $50 goal. And there wasn't going to be a hardcover. There wasn't going to be a mini. None of that stuff. But the more I worked on it, the more I wanted to do legit stuff. I wanted to have more fun. And as I was sculpting that mini, I was really happy with it. But I did a trailer. I could show everybody the trailer right now. It might be a little loud if you're watching this at work. It's very rousing music. It's very short, though. So here's the trailer. You can check it out. I'll be right back. I have that go full screen so you don't see me dancing along to the music, because that would be embarrassing. So the campaign launched. It's if anybody wants to, I think this will go to both. Oh, thanks NPC. That image of the wizard, the elven, the black elven wizard, Intoximancer. He's got his flagon. How can I? I can just copy the URL from here. You can go to Intoximancy.com if you want to check out the campaign. But I think I can put it in chat. There's a photo. I'll put that in chat here. I think I'm allowed to put it in chat as the host. If not, just go to Intoximancy.com, the URL right below. I did get the URL. It was just easier than telling people longer URLs. Well, it's $15 for the domain, and like you might as well just have it. But the wizard character, that's there's an Adobe stock photograph of. There's a whole series of them, and they are modern people dressed in like Ren Fair, medieval type clothing. It doesn't look like they're trying to do period drama or period costumes at all. It's like he's wearing chainmail. He's basically wearing that outfit, and he's holding like a big gulp in one hand, and he's taking a selfie. And so I took that photograph and changed I like the way the hand was holding the big gulp. But the index finger was like on top of the lid of the big gulp. So I kind of changed the shape of so I 3D modeled a new mug, a new chalice to put in his hand. And I indented the chalice so it would match the formation of the hand. And then his other hand was holding a selfie. So I have a new hand in there, and because I knew it was going to be less photographic, it's all covered with magic, totally obscure the weaknesses of my drawing, and gave him, changed his hairstyle, gave him a different beard, pointy ears, gave him smiling because I think he's doing a serious, maybe duck lips or something like that it's very much a selfie pose, and I wanted to make it more like majestic. I modified the figure, raising one arm up so he's much more like, I want to make him badass because it's like part of D&D is the wish fulfillment, the kind of I don't know. There's an aspirational quality to D&D for the most part. People tend not to play characters worse than them. They tend to they want to be heroes, and so they want to be. Whereas my comics, like the middle age, the characters don't want to be. The characters are barely heroes at all. They're kind of like flubs. They're kind of like Quimp is. He dies on page 1. The sword's a jerk. No, there aren't like a lot of aspirational superheroes in my stories. But I felt like this wizard on the front of the Intoximancy book, I wanted him to be, he's got that kind of like V shape to his torso. He's very much like, you go, yeah, I want to be that dude. So I don't know. I think it's fun. It's fun. But I've got to do a lot more art. And so the Twitch stream, if you check out twitch.tv/Steve Conley, I stream Tuesdays and Thursdays, usually 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. East Coast time. Sometimes there are more. Oh, let me get the music back. And music by Kevin MacLeod. Thank you, Kevin MacLeod. And if this whole thing gets weirdly blocked or demonetized, I do have the rights to the music in that trailer. It's just that YouTube sometimes takes a while to catch up. And I have a whole document I have to enter. The thing, I got rights. I bought this thing. But if you check me out on Twitch, I'll be working on the artwork for this project. So all these things are going to have like the next up. There is how can I show this to everybody and not break the whole thing? Oh, I can zoom in. Can we zoom in more? Can I zoom in more? No, I can't. That's about it. So there is like a little goblet you see there. It's this green-eared goblet. It's a hobgoblet. And I'm sorry I don't have larger images on the page. The thing was this long scroll. I thought it was getting out of hand. So I kind of trimmed things down a little bit. Also, if I showed people the stats for the creatures, like the armor class, I'm certain someone's going to be like, hey, what are you doing there, Conley? That CR rating should be different or something like that. Again, I like comics because, what do you mean Lord Waddlebottom isn't... Okay, you're absolutely right, Roger. Lord Waddlebottom is a great role model. But he's the only one. He's the only aspirational figure in this story. Phosphonate's pretty great. And whoever Tabula Rasa is, she's pretty great too. No spoilers. But in this, and I'm sorry the chat is weird. I used to have the chat thing scrolling below. I'm kind of jumping over and staring off the screen half the time. I apologize for that. Oh gosh, I didn't want to blow up. Apparently if I try to drag that to the other monitor, it will blow up. So there's the Hobgoblin, and this week I'll be illustrating on Twitch. Tomorrow, I think we're going to do the Tankard. And it was so great. I ran a D&D game last week for the first time in 20-something years. And it was a bar fight, of course. And the creatures that are in this book were in the fight. And they were in the tavern. And they worked out great. They're very silly. The Hobgoblin is really simple. It's a very tiny goblet. It snarls. It says dumb things like, you mugs. Everything's cup-related and stupid. And he's got 2 little daggers. And he's like, jab. And they don't do a lot of damage, but he's just this kind of like thorn. And he runs around being obnoxious. And hey, Carol, nice to see you. Carol on YouTube. And then there is the Tankard, which is this tank, slow-moving tank. And it's very much like there was an Atari game millions of years ago. I think it was called like Tank Attack or something like that. Or Combat. There was an Atari... there was a Sears version that was different. Anyway, it was this slow-moving tank. And so this is a very slow-moving tank. So it's this tankard that hides. It moves very slowly. It's got 1 attack, and it recharges slowly. So it's in the shadows. It moves out, takes an attack, and then goes back into the shadows to get the benefit of being out of line of sight, to have additional cover. And then it waits to recharge. And if it doesn't recharge, it just stays hidden. And and when it hits you, it hits hard. So it can't attack often. It's annoying. You want to close with it. And it also has a knockback. So if it hits you, it throws you back a little bit. It worked out great. The people who were playing it really seemed to love it. And so it was so much fun. So I got to fine tune the creatures a little bit. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. They're all flagon-born. So there's going to be a pseudo-flagon, a tankard, the hobgoblet, and a brokenstein, which is kind of like this Frankenstein type broken assemblage of other mugs and things like that. A broken dirty dishware, an assemblage of dirty dishware that just comes up and just hits hard. It's slow moving, so basically it picks a target and moves at it very slowly, and if it gets close to you, it starts beating you up. Jamar, how are you? Nice to see you on the Facebook. Max on Siobhan on YouTube says, I'm working on a D&D related game project. Would love your input. That's great. Count me in. Yeah, please do, Max. NPC over on Discord. Yeah, upload anything. I'm happy to talk about it, and I'll be posting the stats for all this stuff on Discord and probably the Reddit homebrew, the subreddit of D&D homebrew. I just posted the specs for the cantrip Cheers, which I love. I think this is a great cantrip. It is. It's an action. You cast it to somebody you can see within 60 feet of you, and you raise your glass to them. It's got to be a glass. The spell requires a drinking vessel of some kind, and you cheer them. And if they respond, if they fail their wisdom saving throw, they have to immediately use their reaction to cheer you back, and it does a little bit of damage. So it's not the damage that matters as much as using the reaction. And that reaction is something that a lot of characters in Dungeons and Dragons use for other things like opportunity attacks, counterspell, shield. What else we got? Absorb elements. There's tons of things you use your reaction for. And if you don't have your reaction because some idiot raised his glass at you, that affects you a little bit. And there's nothing like that in the game. There is a kind of touch attack, like a shocking grasp, I think, eats up a reaction, but you have to be in close combat to do that. So this is a ranged attack that does that. It does less damage, and it's very silly. But so that's exactly what this campaign and what I was hoping for with this project is that it's powerful, it's very silly, and it's weird. And so that's kind of like that hits all the marks I'm looking for. So. And also the reaction to it so far over on D&D Homebrew is very nice. I think it was like 11 upvotes or something like that, which is, not huge, but it's a small community and it's easy to get savaged. I've uploaded some things there and they've hated it. I did upload Waddlebottom there, his stat card there, and they loved him. So Waddlebottom's a fan favorite. And then I uploaded another character and they hated it. They're like, the baby dragons. They hated the baby dragons. They thought, oh no, these stats are all wrong. These stats are, your CR rating's all wrong. Oh, 22 people. You're fantastic. I love this. So it's very silly. So it's what I love about this dumb project is that it sits at the nexus of a lot of my dumb passions. And tonight, again, is the Pencil to Pencil live broadcast here on YouTube. So if you go to youtube.com/pencil to pencil, if you check out Pencil to Pencil on the Facebook, tonight it is co-hosts Jamar Nicholas, Mike Manley, and myself, and we're talking with everyone's favorite John Gallagher, the creator of Max Meow, Buzzboy, a wonderful cartoonist. He and I go back a bazillion years, and we basically got our start at the exact same time, doing basically in the early 90s. I think I was working on something called Avant-Garde, and I think at that time he was cooking up Buzzboy, which I think that Buzzboy ended up coming up like 98 with Astounding Space Turtles. I forget. I'll ask John tonight. Oh no, and LJ on YouTube, how is it possible to hate baby dragons? They didn't hate the baby dragons as much as they hated my stats for the baby dragons. I think they liked the artwork just fine. I think they liked the faces just fine, but I think there was a sense of, in terms of the gameplay, they can fly and they can breathe fire. They don't do a lot of damage, but the idea that if you have a sword and you're just running around, if you're Conan and there's a dragon running around just breathing fire down on you, even if it's a little baby dragon, that dragon's going to have a massive advantage in the fight, and so you need to buff up its. Basically, you should say this is a more challenging target. This is a more challenging opponent than your stats would indicate, and that's what the CR rating is, a challenge rating. That I should bump that up, and I say pshaw to that. Exactly, NPC. These mythical baby dragons aren't realistic enough. Well, in terms of the game, they're very. So for the other ones I've created, there's a. Okay, so let's talk about making a supplement for Dungeons and Dragons, and this might be relevant to what you're thinking about, NPC. First of all, I'm not making a supplement for Dungeons and Dragons. I'm making a supplement for 5th edition of the world's most popular role-playing game. Dungeons and Dragons is a registered trademark, and there's a bunch of other things that are registered trademarks. So I can talk about it in reference to that it's compatible with Dungeons and Dragons 5e. I can talk about that, but my product better not say it. So there's nothing on that page that says D&D. There are certain trademark terms that Wizards of the Coast, TSR, Wizards of the Coast, Hasbro, that's the lineage, that the Hasbro is basically saying, you can't call it that. You can use those things if you want to release it exclusively to the DM's Guild, which is a specific licensed outlet for that kind of content. Whereas if you want to do your own thing and have your own Kickstarter, you can't use things like Beholder or, I don't know. I think there are a few other monsters, maybe Mind Flayers, Vecna, things like that. You got to get rights for. So I'm being very cautious. There's going to be a page of the book which is just legalese that basically say, hey, I'm playing by the rules. All this stuff here, these rules that we're playing by, that all belongs to TSR, and here are the people who created it. It's a whole page. It's tiny, tiny text, but every supplement has to have it. And so that's one part of it. And then you can't base anything in your rules on anything that's outside of this SRD, which is kind of like the pared down, bare bones versions of Dungeons and Dragons. All the basic spells are there, but all the fancy names, like that might be trademarked, are not. So you can have fighters, you can have a wizard. Now, there are tons of subclasses of wizard. A subclass is a type of wizard. It's kind of an arcane tradition of wizard. There's all these different subclasses, but the SRD only has one. So if you're going to use that basic rule set, you're a vanilla wizard. And so you can't make references to spells and classes that are not in the basic, in that SRD. So mine doesn't do that. But there is a basic monster in the SRD called a flying sword. Now that flying sword is, because again it's in the SRD, I feel comfortable using it as a reference, and even saying that I'm using it as a reference and being quite explicit. It can fly, it can stab, it has a good attack. It flies fast, like 50 feet. Like it zips around, has a high armor class, like 17, has a challenge rating of 25. So it's valued very low, but packs a big punch. And that's kind of what I've based my monsters on. If anything, and if I've ever given my monsters a buff of any kind of benefit, I've really given them a glass jaw in some other way. Like it'll hit you hard, but it moves really slowly. So if you want to kite it, if you want to just run away from it and keep hitting it with arrows, it'll crumble. But you don't want to get in close quarters with it, that sort of thing. I know, I'm rambling. I'm such a nerd. All right, let's watch the trailer one more time as I sip coffee, because I can't get enough of this thing. Intoximancy trailer. I'm so happy with how that turned out. So the music I got from Envato Elements, and also the tavern sound effects from Envato Elements. I have a subscription to them. It's very handy. They've got like pretty good fonts. Their system's a little more difficult to use. You have to license each individual thing for each project. Whereas if you go to Adobe Stock, you get a photograph. It's yours. You can do with it what you will. Envato, you have to say, I'm using it for this project, I'm using it for this project, that sort of thing. So I think that's how they try to keep you, hooked onto their system. But that tavern ambiance, that was from them. The music was from them. And it's great. It's great. They also do give you licensed legalese, a document, so that if YouTube looks at this video a little bit later on and goes, hey, what are you using? That music is owned by somebody. You can, I got to turn the music back on. Oh, no, it's there. They can say, I can just upload a document and the system will automatically fix it. So it's a pain in the butt. I don't want to use it if I'm streaming long-term on YouTube, because if I had a medley of songs, let's say 20 songs, I would get 20 copyright strikes and I'd have to respond to each and every one of them. So that's a pain in the butt. But a single track like this should be fine. But yeah, NPC, it's really challenging for people to do these D&D supplements because there are rules and you want to play by them right. I had a great conversation, Dan Taylor and I had a great conversation with DC Bradshaw. He does a book called Little But Fierce, which is a adaptation of the 5e rules for kids. He's simplified them. Instead of having all the different stats, he's pared them down. Instead of having all the different skills, he's pared them down. Instead of having levels of character and levels of spells, which are two different things, it's levels means two different things there, which is not great design. He's turned it to levels for your character and grades for your spell. And I love that, especially for young kids. The idea of grades, first grade spell, second grade spell, third grade spell. Perfect. So good. So, but he had to follow all these rules, and his book is like 150 pages. Yeah, a little bit fierce. It's out. It's available through, I think, Drive-Thru RPG, and he's great. He's a fantastic. I think he's a Scot. He's a fantastic creator. He does a ton of stuff. Very very prolific gaming author. And I think he's going to do a Kickstarter in the future. I'm hoping he'll do a Kickstarter in the future to turn it into a like a legit hardcover book. Through Drive-Thru RPG, they'll do a print-on-demand softcover for you, or they'll sell you the PDF. I think it's like 15 or 20 bucks or something. And that's the thing too, coming from the world of comic books, where people, if I ask someone, if I say here's a comic book, it's $5, people are like, whoa, $5? What are you doing? What are you talking about? That's crazy talk. Comics should still be 35 cents. Comics should only, at most, $1. At most, $3 is pushing it, Conley. But in the gaming world, these hardcover books are $50. Something like this on a Kickstarter would be $70 easily. It's crazy. It's crazy. But it's not crazy because a video game is $70, and I bet you the people who are getting Flea Mortals, which is the book that Matt Colville and MCDM are doing right now, and they're kind of reimagining all the monsters of Dungeons and Dragons, and they're giving them much more personality. They're not, orcs aren't just, orcs. That's kind of how they're described in the book. Orcs, nasty jerks. And he's giving them a lot of personality and variations among the orcs. So it's not just one kind of orc. And he's doing it for every monster, basically trying to come up with what's the difference between an orc and a goblin, and why are they different? An orc and what separates them culturally from one another? It's like what separates a Klingon and a Romulan, that kind of thing. And I don't think a lot of those monsters of Dungeons and Dragons have had that kind of thought put into them beyond very small niche releases. So his book is $70. I bet people will use that book more than they use their Elden Ring purchase. I think they're going to use it the heck out of that book. So $70 is probably reasonable. Hey, Cave. It's crazy. Are you talking about the prices of everything? Yeah, it's bonkers how expensive they are. And I'm a jerk because my little hardcover zine here is $30. I'm doing that because I'm not mass producing these things. They're all going to be print on demand, like a Mixum or something like that. And I just couldn't make it make sense any other way. So I hated to do it, but I'm doing it because I'm not doing it out of, avarice. I'm doing it out of like, I'm a nerd and want to put it on my bookshelf. And so how do I do that? And if I only print 20 copies of it, what are they going to cost me? Oh, that much? All right. I guess that's how much they are. Yeah, I do think the prices, well, maybe not. But I think compared to a video game, the books are quite reasonable. The amount of art that's in most of them, the amount of effort that goes involved, that's involved, the sheer number of people, copy editing. I was talking with the DC Bradshaw about that. Again, Dan and I were talking with Dave about that, DC Bradshaw about that. And it was like, just having a 150-page book and making sure that the capitalization is consistent across the entire thing. That's bonkers. So a ton of work involved. Because you're writing not only you're writing hopefully a piece of art, you're creating something that's going to create a mood and help storytellers tell stories, but you're basically also writing stereo instructions. And so it's super complicated. But I can't believe how great this campaign is going. I was sweating this thing so much. I'm still sweating this thing. I still, fingers crossed, everybody, hands on the radio. Let's hope that somebody at Kickstarter decides to make this a project we love. I was putting together that video, the trailer, which I will show you again because I can't get enough of it. I was putting that trailer together so late last night because I thought that could be the difference between a project we love and not. They don't always require a video with a project we love, but I thought, I got to put everything. It's weird. This is a lot like doing comic books. When you create a comic, you are you want the fans to read it, but you know that you're also selling to the retailer, because if the retailer doesn't order it, the fans will never see it. And so part of this, I know in my head, is like, yes, I want everybody to love this thing. And yes, I want customers to come to this page, and potential customers to come to this page and see something that they like and understand what they're getting. And it look professional and be clear and be friendly. But I also know I'm selling to Kickstarter. That if I can get someone at Kickstarter to just go, I like that, maybe they will give it the project we love, and we'll have twice as many backers. Because Project We Love is not necessarily the game changer in comics as I think it is in games. I think a Project We Love tag in games but just puts you in front of so many more people in the gaming world is so much more. I think it's more it's less centralized. How about that? I think comic books, this has changed in the last 10 years or so, but comics are still very much Diamond Comics, a single distribution system. Even if it was Capital and a few other distributors, it's still primarily a single funnel. We have children's books and graphic novels in the bookstore market. Sure, that was always that concurrent other channel of books, but it still feels more centralized. Comics feels more centralized. If there's a Kickstarter from a comic creator, I'll find out about it on Twitter. I'll find out about it on Facebook. Gaming world, it feels like it's just all over the place. There are people producing projects all the time and we don't know about them. Why am I not streaming? Because I can't stream on Twitch and Facebook and YouTube at the same time because of the affiliate agreement. I used to stream on all 3 platforms, but the affiliate agreement says Twitch only. So I started this on Twitch, and then I went over to YouTube and Facebook just to see some other people. So we got to see Roger. We got to see NPC. He occasionally slums it over on Twitch with the rest of us, with the riffraff. We got to see Jamar. But I'll probably be back on Twitch in a little while. I'm going to go get lunch and not look at my phone and not look at computers. But I did start on Twitch. Last time I launched on YouTube and Facebook and then went over to Twitch. This time I switched it around. And the campaign is going to run for a little over 3 weeks. I normally end it on Wednesday nights, but I'm ending it on Thursday nights so it doesn't conflict with Pencil to Pencil. So Thursday night, it'll probably be in the middle of my D&D game. I didn't even think about that. That's appropriate. But I'll probably be on Twitch a little bit later on. 26 people. That's fantastic. Way better than I thought this thing was ever going to be. I thought... I don't know who's going to like this thing. But again, everybody, fingers crossed, let's get that Project We Love. Or just spread the word. Just tell people you know if you think they might be interested in this. I know it's a weird thing. It's super niche. Because it's a wizard subclass. And if you don't want to play a wizard, why would you even want this book? So I do try to focus on the fact that there's creatures, there's spells. And again, the Cheers cantrip is being very well received on the D&D homebrew section on Reddit. So I think during the course of this campaign, I'll be creating the artwork on Twitch, twitch.tv/Steve Conley. I'll be sharing the artwork on social media, and I'll be sharing the stat blocks on D&D Homebrew on Twitch, hopefully driving people this way. I might even run, I know, I don't like to do this stuff. I might even run a few ads on Facebook. I might boost a post or two. I know, that's how they get you. But I would love this to be, I think of this as outreach. This is a chance for the gaming world to discover my comics. And I would love for there to be Intoximancers stumbling around the worlds, the various campaigns around the world. So, let's not rest until there's 1,000 backers for this thing. And by I say let's not rest, I mean you all have done enough. Steve, let's not rest until there's 1,000 backers for this silly thing. But you're wonderful. Thank you all so much. I have to do a Kickstarter update. I'm delivering the STL files for people who backed the previous campaign. Those are going out today. And so I'll be letting those folks know about this thing as well. But you're the best. Thank you all so much. Intoximancy.com if you want to check out the campaign. And I've got to fix all this stuff behind the scenes. So if I stream on Twitch a little bit later on, it all works. But thank you again so much. Tell your friends. And even tell people who aren't your friends. Tell your enemies. Go out, make new friends specifically for the purposes of telling them about this campaign. Find the people who've wronged you and make amends. And while you're doing that, while you're mending fences, mention my campaign. While you're doing your atonement, as you're going out in the world and apologizing for all the sins, all the evil you've done, and you've done a lot of evil, I can tell. Go out there and tell them about this campaign while you're at it. I'll see everybody later.